Welcome to Teddy the Bear video tutorial 17. In the last video we left you finishing up to the end of round 15 on the head, so we're going to continue from there with line 16. But just before we start that, the instruction before is begin to stuff the head quite firmly, moulding into shape as you go. So we're going to show you the stuffing. So a little bag of stuffing that comes with the kit. I'm going to take the hook out just to make it easy, but I'm going to pull that first to make the loop bigger. And that's just so that we don't accidentally pull the loop out while we're working. So we're going to grab some stuffing. I always pull it apart. This ball stuffing is much easier to work with, but we'll still pull it apart because we don't want it in big clumps. And then we're just going to pop it in like so. And as we work, we're just going to stretch it out into a nice round shape. So it would have been much more hexagonal if we hadn't have staggered the stitches like we did earlier. We'd have more have had a hexagon shaped head. Not nice for poor Teddy. I don't think he'd like that. So we're going to do some stuffing. We're not going to stuff it absolutely firmly or really to the top yet. We're just getting most of it in because as the hole becomes smaller, it'll be hard to get a lot in. And we don't want it too close because when we're stitching, we don't want the stuffing to get caught up all the time. So we've just popped a bit in and we've pulled it like that to get it into shape, nice and round. Looking like a nice round head. There we go. So we're going to continue with round 16. I'll just move the other things out of the way and then we're going to zoom in to make it a little bit clearer. So round 16 is 2 double crochets and a decrease. So we'll just show you that nice and clearly. So it's 2 double crochets and a decrease, and obviously because that's in brackets we're repeating that instruction 6 times. So now we're beginning to close the head. So let's do round 16. So we're just going to do that all the way around. So I'm lifting it to see which stitch is next to be worked because it looks like it might be that one, but it isn't because that's lifting. So that's already worked. So it's this one here. So we're just going to do our 2 double crochets and a decrease back to the beginning. So 2 double crochets and 1 decrease. So just looping those front 2 loops, just being careful not to catch the stuffing. You can leave it a little bit later to stuff, but I like to get some in before we start closing because it is awkward to stuff it once your hole gets small. It's difficult trying to get it in and get the shape nice. That's our 2 double crochets and then our decrease. Make sure you pull it a little bit tighter when you're doing your decrease because it can otherwise look a little bit more gappy. Get out of the way, little bobble of stuffing. It was trying to escape. So now in our last set, 2 double crochets and then that final decrease. Do our final one. There we are. So our hole's a lot smaller now. I'll push that stuffing down. So I'm just going to move my stitch marker before we start on the next round. And let's have a look at round 17. So for round 17 we have got double crochet decrease 6 times, finish stuffing Tuffy Teddy's head. So let's do that, double crochet decrease. So we're getting smaller and smaller now. We're nearly at the end of our head. I'm going to wait a little bit before I put the final amount of stuffing in, but feel free to pop a bit more in now if you like. So 1 double crochet and then a decrease. It gets a little bit more fiddly toward the end, but just take your time. No big rush. Unless, of course, you're making it for a new baby that's just been born. You're seeing them tomorrow. But apart from that, don't rush. Right, so that's another decrease. Now, is our wool going to last? We're getting right near the end, so we're playing yarn chicken to see if we get to the end. A double crochet decrease. Oh, nearly there. I've got one stitch left. And I think what I did was I've accidentally done 2 in a decrease somewhere. So not to worry, we'll just do a last double crochet. Right. I think we have messed it up a little bit there. I must have done 2. See, it just sometimes just goes wrong. I'll just double crochet in the last 2. If you're an odd one out, it's not such a big worry. Sometimes I'm still doing the 2 double crochet from the last round and I'll forget. So we'll move and put the marker there. Now our hole's really small, so I think it's time we finish that stuffing off. So I'm going to pull that a little bit bigger again, just to make sure we don't accidentally lose our stitch, and we're going to pop a bit more in, like so. Whoops, look at that, we haven't got much left on that ball. So I'm just popping it on the top and then pushing it in with my thumbs, try and push it in evenly, we don't want it all in one area. Some more stuffing out. Separate it and I'll push it into the different areas. So I'll probably go around the circle, just pushing it in different parts. It's all just about getting it even. We can have a feel, that feels a bit thinner, so I don't think we've got as much in that area there. So we'll even it out. And that's just how you get a nice looking toy, just trying to do it evenly and shaping it as you're working. So I'm pushing it all out, so I want a nice circle. So I'll get some more in there. So we don't want to stuff it so much that we can see the stuffing through the stitches. But with the head, we want it quite firm. Legs, head and body tend to be firm. And then the limbs, we often just put a little bit in the paws or the feet. And the top row is much lighter. And sorry, the rest of it's quite light. And then the very tops are pretty much always empty on most of the animals, because we want the arms to hang flat and the legs, we don't want them stuffed right to the top, because otherwise when you sew them slightly underneath, it'll just fall over as soon as you sit him down. So that's feeling, see how stuffed that is? So we're shaping it so we've got it nice and round. Did it feel quite even and it feels quite firm? I might just pop a little bit more in, just to give us a nice firm head. Like so. So I'll split it up a bit. So it's nice and firm, but we can't see the stuffing through, like quite dense. So that's great, I think. So we'll move on to the next row, which is our final instruction is round 18, decrease times 6, fasten off, using your needle, sew through the back loop of the 6 stitches and pull tight to close. Insert your needle through the stuffing a couple of times, pull and cut the yarn. The end will retract and be hidden inside the head. So we'll show you that technique as well. So we're going to pop our hook back in, pop it on, and then I'm just going to pull that so that it's nice and snug on the hook, not tight, but just snug. And now we're going to do 6 decreases. And we ended up a little stitch out, didn't we, on the last one? So we might end up with 7 decreases, but it doesn't matter because we're just finishing the head. An odd stitch will not be noticeable. So let's get those decreases done and pull it quite firmly again, because otherwise you'll have a bit, with all the decreases, you may have a little bit of a holey back of the head if you don't pull your strand quite firmly. I'm nearly there. Oops. many have we got left? Let's do 2 more decreases left. Oh, it's worked out right this time. I think I'd accidentally just done 2 on the previous round, so I've got 2 left to do. I might just take out my stitch marker just so it makes it a little bit easier. So we're just decreasing into the last 2 stitches now. Pull that a little bit bigger, so we're just going to fasten off. Now the strand on the back of the body, which we made earlier here, that's what we're going to use to sew the head on. So we don't need a long strand here. So we're just going to cut enough to give us enough to sew it up. So we're just going to pop that through the loop and pull. And you can see there's just a little hole now, but we can't leave it like that because it's too big. So we're going to sew that up. A little bit of stuffing popping out in a couple of those, so I'm just going to push it through. And we won our game of yarn chicken. Look at that, we've got some left. It's just nice not to have to add a new ball right at the end. So we're going to use our needle and we are going to just sew those last 6 stitches. So I'll just grab my needle. And the case, I haven't got it out, look, that's very lax of me. Where's my needle gone? There it is. Right, so we're just going to thread that. And by sewing the last 6 stitches, all we're going to do, what I like to do is go under like that, because then it will pull that knot to the inside. Do you see that vanished? Otherwise you might have the little knot where you've just fastened off on the outside of your work. If you need a bit more stuffing in, you can push it in. You just have to pop some there and then just push it through with some scissors carefully. So we're just going to grab the nearest half of each stitch, so the front loops. So I've wound it round 2. I try and go in the same way. So I'm going from front to back. And you can normally do 2 comfortably. Do them one at a time if you prefer there. If you try and do more, it gets a bit tricky because you're going around the corner, so that's 4. I'm going to do 5. Pretty much 5 is all of them. It's just 1 left, but we can't even see that, so don't worry. So then we're going to pull it tight, and that'll gather all the final stitches to make them nice and neat. And then we'll go down where we've come up and come out a couple of centimetres away through a gap. And then we'll go back down the same gap and up a couple of centimetres away, further away. And then obviously we're going to just pull that tight and cut. Carefully don't cut your crochet, but then the end's disappeared and it's all fastened in the stuffing inside. So there we have it. That's the front and that's the back of our head. And our head is complete. Join me on the next video and we'll continue with our teddy the bear.